Good evening and welcome to Political Exchange. A five-judge bench of the Supreme Court, headed by Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi, has sent the Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid land dispute for mediation. The apex court has appointed a three-member panel and has asked them to complete the mediation process within 8 weeks. The first status report will be filed in 4 weeks, and the mediation panel has the liberty to add more members. The Supreme Court also stressed the need for utmost confidentiality in the mediation to ensure success. It even said that the media should refrain from reporting on the proceedings. It is, however, the appointment of Sri Ravi Shankar as a mediator that has raised a few objections. In March 2018, Ravi Shankar had asked the Muslims to give away the land to Hindus as a goodwill gesture, and had also warned of bloodshed if the court ruled against the temple. So is a resolution finally around the corner, or will this just be another chapter in the long-standing Ayodhya land dispute? First of all, we'll go across to former law minister of the country and senior Congress leader Salman Khurshid. Mr. Khurshid, thanks very much for speaking to CNBC-TV18. You have been following this case. I'm sure you've taken part in numerous debates over the Ram Mandir dispute. Today, do you feel we're a step closer to this issue finally being resolved?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but I believe that this is a very positive step. Supreme Court has done something which has a tremendous amount of foresight and a great deal of, innovative thinking. I believe that the Supreme Court has given us a fantastic opportunity to show inclusiveness of Indian public life, and I hope that we will live up to that challenge, and that this will become a historical step in greater unity of our people.
Mr. Khurshid, we'd like to ask you about the presence of Sri Ravi Shankar on that panel. Asaduddin Owaisi and certain members of the opposition have raised this objection that he is somebody who in March 2018 had said that if Muslims don't give up their claim over Ayodhya, then it would become another Syria. Would you also object to his presence on the panel? Do you think we would need a more neutral person?
See, he's a person of considerable stature and standing, a person of deep spirituality, but obviously he has taken a public position that may irk some people. But I'm sure that the Supreme Court has considered everything, and looking at his personality, his stature and standing, expects him, as indeed it expects all the others, to dispassionately try and find a solution. Now, whatever any individual's position may have been in the past, this is mediation, this is not adjudication, and therefore the very nature of mediation is something where you'll try to look for an accepted consensual solution. And I do believe that after having given it a thought, Supreme Court has come to this conclusion that this match of these three people would be ideal. Let's give them a chance.
Let's give mediation a chance. Also, politicians in the BJP, Subramanian Swamy has said that mediation can only succeed if Muslim bodies agree to build a masjid outside the Ram Janmabhoomi. That's the precondition. You've got the Deputy Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh saying mediation has not worked in the past. That's also the view of the Hindu Mahasabha. What does the Congress really feel? What is necessary for this mediation to succeed?
I don't think our party has taken a formal view yet. I mean, this is only something which is a few hours old. But we've had a consistent opinion that if it's possible that people of different communities come together, which is perhaps what will happen in this case, and come to a consensual solution, we'll be the happiest. Subject, of course, to that not happening, there are other ways in which it could be resolved, and that was, of course, going to court and so on and so forth. But I don't think that in principle any one of us would be opposed to another try, even if people think it's not been successful in the past. This is mediation at the highest level, coming with the Supreme Court creating that platform for mediation, which is vastly different from whatever attempts have been made in the past. I certainly think that we should all support it.
All right. So Salman Khurshid, the former law minister, saying that this is a positive step and must be supported. Mr. Khurshid, thanks very much for speaking to CNBC TV18. We'd like to introduce our panel now. This evening, we're joined by Rajya Sabha MP Rakesh Sinha, We've got political analyst Sharad Pradhan and also a member of the All India Muslim Person Law Board, SQR Ilyas. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Rakesh Sinha, I'd like to begin with you. How does the RSS see today's development? We tried to get in touch with spokespersons of the RSS. They said, we have no comments. Our view is same as that of the Hindu Mahasabha, that mediation has not worked in the past.
You know, in democracy, dialogue constitutes very important dimension. And at any time, if dialogue succeeds, there is nothing can be better than that. But our past experiences has shown that those who are supporting Babri Mosque or those who are the pleader of the Babri Mosque, they have always sabotaged the dialogue and mediation. During the Chandrasekhar ji, when Chandrasekhar ji was the Prime Minister, there was a very important initiative by the Prime Minister himself. There was a mediation, but the Babri Masjid committee could not produce the documents which was expected from them. Then the P.B. Narasimha Rao made the efforts. During the Vajpayee regime, also some efforts were made. So I think that if the Supreme Court has taken the decision, we are with the Supreme Court decision. They have taken an initiative. But at the same time, I have three questions. Supreme Court could not do dialogue with in the Sabrimala case, in Jalikutti case. That was a very important issue when the stakeholders in the Sabrimala issue, that this should be taken into confidence. But despite that, if Supreme Court has taken decision, 8 weeks are not very far away. If the things comes to constructive way, then we are welcome. Our position is very, very categorically clear.
Okay.
There is no unambiguity in our position.
Right.
That place belongs to Bhagwan Ram, Lord Ram. The Ram Mandir should be reconstructed. Mosque can be constructed at any place in outside Ayodhya or Ayodhya. Because the importance of Ram in Indian milieu is different than other temple and the mosque. Two important things are very important that, you know, since 1990s to 2019, you see the decline of support Babri Mosque from the intellectual side because they were producing the newspaper clippings. We have three things in our hand. One, cultural and civilizational legacy of India. That is the thousands of years. So Bhagwan Ram cannot be compared with Babur or the advent of Islam in India. Second important thing is that Archaeological Survey of India collected the evidences by empirical studies and the excavation, and all these empirical facts go for the temple. Third thing which constitutes very important in the mediation is that faith of the people. You cannot question the faith of the Hindus. We are not asking Makkah Masjid, we are not asking the Vatican, we are asking for Ayodhya. For us, Ayodhya is as important civilizationally, culturally and nationally. For those who are comparing Babri Mosque with the Ram Temple, in fact, they are sabotaging the entire history. They are sabotaging civilization and cultural legacy of the country.
Okay, don't compare Babri Masjid with the Ram Temple, and there is a precondition. We should go ahead and build the mosque somewhere else. That is what the RSS is saying. This is what the Subramanian Swamy has also said, and several BJP leaders have also pointed out. SQR Ilyas, if I can get you in at this stage, is this precondition acceptable to you? What Rakesh Sinha said, that the mosque should be built somewhere else?
Unfortunately, Rakesh Sinha is misleading the nation. Because 2 times the dialogue failed because of the adamant attitude of the other side. They have said that for us it is a matter of faith. For you it is a matter of a land. Or for you it is a matter of a mosque. Mosque can be built anywhere else. The thing is that there is no evidence in the history which says that this is the place where Ram had gone. You know, and till 1949, there was no faith associated with this Babri Masjid. You know that the entire issue came into focus when the idols were kept surreptitiously inside the mosque in 1949. Before that, neither BJP nor anybody was raising this issue. The thing is that they are misleading the nation that it is a place. Yeah. And secondly, you know,
Mr. Ilyas, these points, the points that you're making have been made before the Apex Court as well. What would be the best case scenario according to you?
I think that the people should sit. They should produce the document before whatever document they have in favor of their claim. It is a land dispute, revenue record, land record, everything which supports the Babri Masjid issue. The thing is that if the other side has the document as any evidence before them, they put before the bench or before this committee or before this panel, and let the panel decide which document is favorable.
Right. Let the panel decide, come up with documents, come up with evidence, and then let's see what happens. Let's sit down and talk. That's what SQR Ilyas is talking about. Let's get in Sharad Pradhan. Mr. Pradhan, you've been a veteran journalist in every election in Uttar Pradesh and in general elections. The Ayodhya issue, the Ram Janmabhoomi issue comes up. The first status report in this case will be submitted in the Supreme Court in 4 weeks' time. We will be in the thick of elections at that time. How do you see this issue playing out?
Absolutely. Well, you know, ideally, any mediation should be acceptable to all. And it is a very good solution to such intricate issues. But in this case, that can be done. Mediation is possible only when you have parties with an open mind. In this case, it is very evident that the Hindu side has a completely closed mind. They are not ready to accept any situation where the temple, they do not get the temple. You know, in a court, in a mediation, you should have scope for compromise. If you don't have that, then this is meaningless. And I fail to understand why the highest court of the land has resorted to this as a final solution. You know, ultimately, even if they submit a report in 8 weeks or 4 weeks, what is it going to lead to? The Supreme Court has to finally put its stamp. Otherwise, it is meaningless. So then why can't the Supreme Court take a call on this? After all, the High Court has given a judgment. And when the matters go to the Supreme Court, the highest court, the court deal only with the legal issues. And they could have issued their verdict. And the verdict of the Supreme Court would have been binding on both the parties. In any case, I must confess that the Muslim side repeatedly have been saying they are ready to accept any judgment, whether it goes in their favor or against them. On the other hand, the Hindu side, sadly, are not ready to say that if the judgment goes against us, we would accept it. They should be, after all, it's let the court decide. And I fail to also understand why the Supreme Court is shirking away from its responsibility to provide a verdict in a case like this on which the politics of the country rests. And, you know, political parties have in the past, even Congress has used this as a tool, and BJP is making no bones about using this as a tool for the election.
Okay, and Mr. Sinha, I'd like to get you in at this stage because I guess somewhere there is also frustration among the rank and file of the BJP and also in RSS as to when is this temple going to be built. This is a question that is often asked. Do you have any expectation really from this mediation process which is taking place? Because you have a very clear precondition and something that SQR Ilyas does not agree with. What if this mediation doesn't go according to your plan?
You know, there is a class of people in this country who believe in binary between Hindus and Muslims, who see the Ayodhya issue as a replica of a Hindu-Muslim binary. That is not the issue. Mohan Bhagwat ji, RSS chief, categorically said that it should not be seen in the light of Hindu-Muslim binary. Because this issue is concerned with the Hindus and the aggressors. Babur was the aggressor. Those who considered India's age only 300 years, 400 years, with the advent of the Islam, India begins. Advent of the Christianity, India begins. Advent of the any sect, India begins. That is not the case. India is a civilizational nation. Its history is a very long history of thousands of years. So you cannot compare with Bhagwan Ram with the Babri Mosque. That temple was deconstructed, was destroyed, and there is an archaeological survey of
you're
India.
Essentially saying,
if you don't believe archaeological survey of India, I cannot help you.
Mr. Sinha, are you essentially saying
ASI is not an appendix? ASI is not the
Survey of India has never said that there was a Ram temple there.
This sentence.
Archaeological Survey of India, please read the report again. It has never said that there was a Ram temple. It only talks of
kindly.
Okay, Mr. Sinha, essentially, are you trying to say that this is only a delay?
Patience.
What has happened to the Supreme Court today, would you only call it a delay?
Hindus. No, the Supreme Court has taken decision. We have very highest respect for the Supreme Court, for the highest land of the court, highest court of the land. But at the same time, this should not be a tool to delay the verdict. We believe that we have the empirical facts. You go to the Mughal documents of the Mughal period, you go to the documents of the colonial period, they categorically mention Janmasthan. What does the Janmasthan mean? It was not the Janmasthan of the Muhammad Prophet. It is not the Janmasthan of Christ. It is Janmasthan of Bhagwan Ram. We have in our heart Bhagwan Ram, and you are questioning Bhagwan Ram. You are asking certificate of birth certificate of Bhagwan Ram. I have not asked the birth certificate of Prophet Muhammad. I have not asked the birth certificate of the Christ. This is the great injustice with the Hindu society. You are playing with the sentiment of the Hindu. We are not allowed.
Mr. Pradhan,
we won't allow any community.
Mr. Pradhan, so I think we're clear.
All right. The sentiment of the
Hindus. Mr. Pradhan, I think we've got a sense from what Mr. Sinha is saying. Yeah. I think the view of the BJP and the RSS is quite clear that they possibly see this only as a delay. They're very clear that nothing else will be acceptable apart from the fact that the mosque, the masjid has to be built somewhere else. The Ram temple has to be built at the disputed site. How do you see this playing out? Do you think this argument is going to cut ice with the voters in this election?
No way. No way. You know, they are hell-bent on getting their point of view accepted by any means. So that is not mediation. Mediation means scope for a give and take. When you don't have that scope, then there is no mediation. It is imposing my view on you. So and what Mr. Sinha is trying to do is trying to twist facts. It's very clearly evident that, first of all, there is nobody is comparing Ram with Babri Masjid. It is only the BJP and the RSS people who try to twist it into this kind of a frame. Nobody does that. Everybody has tremendous respect and probably more respect for Lord Ram than these so-called takedars of the religion. So common people have more respect for Lord Ram.
Okay.
And let me ask him one thing. Why is it, if just one question, if there was fine, Ram's birthplace is Ayodhya, but to pinpoint that this is the 4/6 place where he was born is very, very illogical and baseless. Because somebody who lived in Ayodhya and glorified Ram as the God, the Goswami Tulsidas, he never talks about demolition of a temple there. Whereas when he was there only 40 years before Babur. There is no reason for somebody like Tulsidas. Right. There is no bigger devotee of Lord Ram than Tulsidas. He never talked about it. He talks about the mosque. Right. He talks about it, but he doesn't say that the temple was demolished.
Mr. Pradhan, we can keep talking about this. We have to take a short break at this point. Mr. Sinha has made his points. He's just left this panel for another discussion. We'd like to request all our panelists to stay with us. Mr. SQR Ilyas, Mr. Sharad Pradhan. We'll also be joined by former Law Minister Virappa Moily in just a bit. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. You're watching Political Exchange, the big development, and this is the biggest development in the Ram Janmabhoomi dispute since 2010, when the Allahabad High Court delivered its judgment. Today, the Apex Court has set up a 3-member panel, a mediation panel, to help negotiate the Ram Janmabhoomi dispute and come to a peaceful resolution. Justice F.M. Khalifullah, Sri Ravi Shankar, and Sri Ram Panju, senior advocate, are members of this mediation panel. I'd like to go across to SQR Ilyas at this point. Mr. Ilyas, a lot has been said about Sri Ravi Shankar. Several people have questioned his presence on the panel because of the comment that he made last year that if Muslims don't give up their claim on Ayodhya, India will become another Syria. So is this something that makes you uncomfortable as well?
Definitely. I think it would have been better that he would have not been there in the panel. He is not a neutral man. He has already sided with one party. So how can he be a neutral person? The panel should be neutral. Everybody should be acceptable to all the people. But the Supreme Court has appointed. Whatever we want to say, we'll say within this panel. So I think that this selection of Mr. Ravi Shankar is not correct, because he has already made it clear. His remarks is there in the media that if the Muslims are not ready to hand over the place, India will become Syria.
So,
that is a threat to the Muslim community.
So, Mr. Ilyas, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, would it like to make this point before the chairman of this mediation panel? Would you like to tell Mr. Khalifullah about this?
We will mention this matter in the committee itself, in the panel itself, not before it.
All right, not before this, but you will raise this objection before the apex court.
Definitely, it has to be raised.
All right, let me now go across to Mr. Sharad Pradhan. Mr. Pradhan, the BJP has a clear precondition. There are also issues over the presence of Sri Ravi Shankar. How do you see this mediation playing out in the days to come? Justice Khalifullah said that if this is a responsibility that has been given to him, he will try his best to resolve the matter amicably.
You know, it is very evident that the fact that objections have already begun within less than 24 hours, objections have started being raised by different parties on the very constitution of these three-member committee. So where do you see a solution coming out of it? I don't see it coming at all. And in any case, let me tell you, judges who have dealt with this issue for
Mr.
years,
Pradhan, I have to get a comment from Mr. Virappa Moily, the former law minister who's joined us on the phone. I'll just come back to you again. Mr. Moily, thanks for joining us on this discussion. Mr. Moily, our question to you. We've been hearing spokespersons of the RSS and members of the BJP saying that there is a clear precondition. We welcome this order of the Supreme Court, but one thing has to be clear, that the mandir has to be built at the disputed site. The mosque can be built somewhere else. Is this precondition acceptable to the Congress party as a starting point?
No. Congress has consistently, all these decades, we have taken a stand that we will abide by the Supreme Court decision. Now the Supreme Court, in its own wisdom, after a due consideration, after a due deliberation, has constituted a committee to negotiate. I think we have faith in that. Congress party, Indian National Congress, has a faith in the wisdom of the judges in appointing the negotiating team, and we will all cooperate with that. And I don't think either the Congress or the BJP or the RSS, anybody can put a condition that the predetermined view and saying that whatever you do in the negotiation, but we want any one of the party, they should not say that temple should be built in this plot, or the masjid will be at. If that is a condition, where is the point in negotiating? I don't think any condition should.
But Mr. Moily, how will you address?
This is what BJP has
how will the Congress address this issue during the election?
Yeah,
this will be a point for the BJP during the election. How will you counter them?
I know that they are taking it as only for an election agenda. All these years they have been doing it. They are not interested in building the temple, and they are not interested in settling the things. If it is settled, they will have no issues at all. They would always keep the issues
and very quickly, sir, as you're a senior advocate,
and this is, I think, one has to condemn the attitude of the BJP or the RSS, saying that keep the always
as a senior advocate, sir,
people will understand the meaning.
What will happen if this mediation fails?
Will understand
what is the way ahead if this mediation fails? Mr.
I think you allow the Supreme Court, if they abide by the rule of law. And if they have faith in Supreme Court, they will have to go by the negotiating. Whatever the argument they have, without any condition, they will have to support and also cooperate with the negotiating team. That's all. That is the only option now left.
Okay. All right. There's only one option to cooperate with the mediation team. Mr. Moily, thanks very much.
Faith in rule of law.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Moily, thanks very much for joining us on the subject. Final comments from Mr. Sharad Pradhan. Sorry to interrupt you at that time. Your final thoughts.
Well, it is very clearly evident that even if the Supreme Court gives its verdict on as far as the mediation is concerned, they say, okay, the mediation committee first submits a report to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court puts its stamp. What is the status of the execution of this report? Nothing, unless the Supreme Court makes it a binding, and which it cannot. It is again the matter will go back to the court, and the same process will follow. That could have been done earlier. It will be ultimately the way the attitudes of the two sides details and more on the Hindu side, they will probably not end up anywhere, and after 2 months the case will be taken up once again. So, but BJP, as far as BJP is concerned, they will be able to tell the people, look here, we have taken the matter there and it is going to get solved as far as the elections are concerned. They have raised other issues for the election. They are making full use of the conflict with Pakistan for their election purposes.
Okay, Mr. SQR Ilyas, Sharad Pradhan, thanks very much for joining us on this discussion. This indeed is a complicated issue. It's been playing out for decades. Let's hope there is some success in this mediation procedure, which will now begin next Friday. Thanks for watching.